Department of Justice has since put out a statement tonight to further explain Attorney General Jeff Sessions' comments. It says, quote, the Attorney General was clarifying the legal basis for appointing a special counsel, not passing judgment on whether it applied in any specific investigation. Now, that statement and Sessions' testimony today is crucial in all of this. Now, Sessions is explaining that just because a special counsel has not been appointed, that does not mean that it won't happen and that the threshold for one won't eventually be met. Now, look, we've been exposing these massive Clinton scandals and, frankly, I believe crimes on this show for over a year. Yes, it's frustrating. People are getting impatient. I totally understand why Congressman Jim Jordan was pressing and demanding answers to important questions. We all want the truth. There needs to be an investigation because we know laws were broken. We know crimes were committed. The evidence is overwhelming. It's incontrovertible. Now, with all that said, things are happening that we can't reveal all the information tonight, but here's what I can tell you. If you listen very closely to Sessions today, he is suggesting that it would take, quote, a factual basis that meets the standards of a special counsel in order for the DOJ to make that type of appointment. Those words, I can assure you, were carefully crafted. Now, sources told me earlier this month, and we reported it right here on this show, that Sessions has not, hear me, has not recused himself in the Uranium One scandal. And if there's an ongoing investigation, Sessions isn't going to, can't reveal all that in an open setting in front of Congress. Now, we're going to have a lot more to say about these things in coming days. Now, Congressman Ron DeSantis, he also had a very interesting exchange with the Attorney General today. Watch this.
In the past, did the FBI or DOJ inform either President Obama, Secretary Clinton, or any cabinet secretary that it had uncovered evidence that Rosatom's main U.S. executive, Vadim Mikirin, was engaged in bribery, kickbacks, and money laundering before the Obama administration approved the Uranium One sale in 2010?
Is that the Mikirin matter, the matter that was prosecuted in Maryland?
2014, but there was an informant in 2009, 2010. The FBI had evidence of bribery, kickbacks, and money laundering. Was that information conveyed to any of the relative people on the CFIUS board? Clinton, other cabinet secretaries, or was it given to the president?
The way I understand that matter is that the case in which Mr. Mikirin was convicted was not connected to the CFIUS problem that occurred 2 to 3 years before.
All of that should sound very familiar because it is exactly what the facts are. What we've been telling you on the show for months, that Vladimir Putin and his agents, they orchestrated a bribery, kickback, money laundering, racketeering scheme, all in an attempt to get a foothold in America's uranium market. Now, this, of course, was all going on while Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration were signing off on that corrupt Uranium One deal. Yet nobody did anything to stop Putin and his plan. Now, there's so much important information that we need to explain tonight, and we're going to untangle this web of Clinton corruption and show you how all of it is connected. All right, let's start right up here with the Uranium One scandal. At the very center of this, we have, of course, Hillary Clinton. Now, in 2010, Clinton was serving as the Secretary of State. One of her responsibilities was, as the head of the Department of State, to serve on a committee of foreign investment in the United States. It's known as CFIUS. Now, it was made up of 9 officials from different departments in the federal government. They were tasked with reviewing foreign investments in U.S. companies and resources. One last point here. You see all of this. Now, remember, we don't have enough uranium in this country. We have to import uranium. Now, another notable Obama official that was serving on that board was the Attorney General. That's Eric Holder. And together, along with 7 other Obama officials, well, on this government board, they approved the sale of a company called Uranium One to a foreign nuclear energy company. Pay close attention here. Watch all of this begin to unfold. Now, Uranium One was a Canadian-based uranium mining company, and it controlled an estimated 20% of raw uranium in the United States. By the way, we don't have enough. We import it. In other words, 1/5 of America's supply of the foundational material used to make nuclear weapons, and we import it because we need it. And the company that Hillary Clinton, Eric Holder, and other Obama officials allowed to buy Uranium One, it's called Rosatom. That's a Russian state-run atomic energy conglomerate. That's controlled by Vladimir Putin and the Russians. You know, the bad actors, the hostile regime. Now, to put this simply, then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and others, 9 total, approved a Russian takeover of 20% of America's uranium supply in 2010. Now, it's all while Vladimir Putin was becoming more and more hostile on the world stage. Why would anyone, let alone members of our government, think it's a good idea to let Putin control 20% of our uranium supplies when we don't have enough? It never made sense. It still doesn't make sense. It's not like America has a lot of uranium to begin with. Guess what? Hillary Clinton, Eric Holder, if you look at all of this up here, and the rest of the Obama administration, I argue created a national security crisis. This is insanity. And then in 2010, during the very same time that the Uranium One deal was being reviewed by the government board, former President Bill Clinton, he sought approval from his own wife's State Department to meet in Moscow with high-ranking board members of this group, Rosatom, that controls all their energy there. The request was made while Bill Clinton prepared to give a $500,000 paid speech in Moscow, twice his usual speaking fee. The bank involved, by the way, had a financial interest in all of this, Uranium One, and it was called Renaissance Capital, and they have links to the Kremlin, and it was actively lobbying for the Russians to take over Uranium One. Now, ultimately, the speech took place, but meeting with Rosatom never happened. Instead, Bill Clinton just sat down with Vladimir Putin himself. Now, the last piece of this web of corruption is the Clinton Foundation. Now, between 2009 and 2013, the chairman of Uranium One used his family foundation to make millions of dollars in donations to the Clinton Foundation before and after Hillary approved the sale of the company to Putin and Russia. And that's not all. Other Uranium One investors, guess what? They also donated millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation. Now, where I come from, that sounds like a quid pro quo. That's what we call pay to play. Now, look at all of that. You see that? Okay, that's only part of it. Now let's turn to the second ongoing Clinton scandal. Now, no matter how much Hillary Clinton deflects and ignores this issue, the scandal surrounding a private server will not go away because she broke the law and she got away with it. This all started in 2008. Private server, email account, set up under the name of a former Clinton aide. In 2009, Hillary Clinton becomes Secretary of State. She uses that personal email account to conduct official State Department business where she sent and received top secret, special access program, classified information. You're not allowed to do that. This came to light in 2015 after the House Select Committee on Benghazi subpoenaed Hillary Clinton's emails related to the Benghazi terror attack. Following the subpoena, an employee of Platte River Networks, that's that small mom and pop shop in a bathroom tech company, well, they were responsible for servicing Hillary Clinton's private server. And let's see, they deleted, what, over 30,000 emails using something that's called BleachBit. It's like acid washing your hard drive. Then, once all of this was revealed, and because of concerns that Hillary may have mishandled top secret government information, the FBI actually opened a criminal investigation to find out what's going on here. You're not allowed to do this. The person in charge of the investigation was then FBI Director James Comey. See how this is all beginning to come together here? Oh, pretty interesting. Now, during the course of the investigation, the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, asked James Comey, hey, don't call this an investigation. Call it a matter. Oh, take the Clinton talking points, and Comey willfully complied. Then 1 week before James Comey announced the FBI's decision on whether or not to pursue charges against Hillary Clinton, then the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, who you can see right here, and former President Bill Clinton, you can see right there, they had that meeting on the tarmac for a private meeting lasting 40 minutes. When pressed about it, Lynch said, oh, we were only talking innocent small talk about golf and our grandchildren. And then after a week of this meeting, a week after, Comey announced the FBI would not recommend charges for Hillary Clinton, even though he spent a good 13 and a half minutes explaining how Clinton had top secret, a special access program, classified information stored on that unsecured server that anyone could have hacked. And by the way, we believe 5 foreign intelligence agencies did. And we also since found out that the original draft of Comey's announcement, well, it described Clinton's actions as grossly negligent. Okay, that is the legal standard. But then after 3 drafts, it was changed to extremely careless. They didn't want to cite what the actual law said. And we also know that Comey made his decision not to recommend charges against Clinton before he ever interviewed the key witnesses in the case, including Clinton herself. The fix was clearly in. And that's why all of this here needs to be investigated. Look how important, look how this all begins to tie together. One common thread: Hillary Clinton. Now, our third scandal involves Fusion GPS and the fake news Russian propaganda anti-Trump dossier. Now, of course, at the very center of this scandal, there you go, it's Hillary Clinton again. And during her failed run for the White House, the Clinton campaign paid millions and millions of dollars to a law firm. It was named Perkins Coie for legal fees. Now, the Clinton-controlled DNC also paid millions of dollars to this same very law firm during that same period. A lawyer within the firm then employed a consulting company, you've heard about it, Fusion GPS, which in turn utilized the services of a former foreign spy. There's Christopher Steele. Steele used the current and former Russian government sources to create the now infamous, totally discredited, fake news, Russian lies, propaganda, misinformation dossier. That was all in an attempt. They paid for it, she paid for it, to influence you, the American people, and the election, and lie to you and propagandize to you. Now, prior to the election, this dossier was secretly shopped around, eventually ended up in the hands of Senator John McCain. McCain passes the document to the FBI Director, James Comey, and now there are concerns that this fake dossier was used as evidence in order to justify a Russia collusion investigation into the Trump campaign. In other words, was this dossier actually used in a FISA court to get a warrant to surveil the Trump campaign or an opposition party? This dossier was not made fully available to the public until BuzzFeed ended up publishing it on January 10th of 2017, well after the election. Well, now we turn our focus, see this? Another one, another troubling scandal, and questions that are raised over a former Democratic IT staffer. Now we begin this time with Florida Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Change of pace, one of Hillary Clinton's top allies in the Democratic Party. Now, she employed an IT staffer named Imran Awan. Now, Awan and several of his relatives, all right, they all worked for congressional Democrats as IT staffers for years, and they reportedly earned between $2 and $4 million, all while having access to House servers. And earlier this year, well, news broke of an investigation into Awan and his family. They were double billing. How did they do that? And stealing House equipment. Democratic lawmakers rightly fired Awan and his relatives, and he was denied access to the House servers. But as Fox News has reported, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she kept him on her payroll. Then in March of this year, Awan's wife and their children flew to Pakistan, where Awan had been sending a lot of money. And finally, Awan was arrested in July at Dulles Airport in Virginia. He was trying to board a flight to Pakistan and was charged with bank fraud, all while some fear that he was responsible for exposing House Democrats' information online. Now, meanwhile, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is defending her decision to keep this guy on the payroll despite the fact that he was under investigation and only fired him after his arrest. And now, in tonight's final, if you will, scandal, we have more shocking evidence when it comes, she's back, to Hillary Clinton as it relates to the fix being in. The Democratic Party is now in disarray following revelations that Hillary Clinton rigged and stole the 2016 primary. Now, this scandal started all the way back in 2015 when Hillary Clinton declared her candidacy for president. Now, at the time, one of Clinton's strongest supporters was none other than Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She was serving as the chair of the Democratic National Committee. Hillary Clinton, well, she wanted nothing more to be president. But the socialist senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders, he was standing in her way. Poor Bernie, right? The primary fight was close. And in July of 2016, just days before the Democratic National Convention, WikiLeaks releases thousands of emails allegedly hacked from key DNC staff members. Those emails, they exposed how the DNC was working against him. The fix was in for her. Now, in response to the DNC hacking, well, did Wasserman Schultz and the DNC go to the FBI to investigate alleged cyber attacks? No, of course not. Why would they do that? Instead, they hired a law firm. Again, Perkins Coie, sound familiar? Remember them? That's the same law firm from the discredited Fusion GPS anti-Trump dossier. They're the ones that were connected there. And as you can imagine, people were outraged over what was discovered in the leak, and Wasserman Schultz, she had to step down on the eve of the convention. She was replaced by Donna Brazile. Donna Brazile just wrote a book. In that book, Donna Brazile slammed Wasserman Schultz, as you can see here, and by saying that she let Clinton headquarters in Brooklyn do whatever they wanted. They were running the DNC. She revealed that a secret contract existed between the Clinton campaign, right here, and the DNC. And Brazile exposed how Hillary Clinton and her campaign had total control of the DNC's finances, strategy, personnel decisions, budgeting, data analytics, and mailings. And for all of you who would have voted for this man, Bernie Sanders, you were cheated. The DNC sold you out, and Clinton literally stole the primary election. Look, these are all massive scandals. For years, we have been warning you about the web of corruption committed by the Clinton crime family that they've gotten away with for decades. And now, take a look at this. It shows the entire scale of the Clintons' willingness to do anything and everything to gain power and wealth at all costs. Look at this. Pretty amazing. There's so much to investigate. All right, we have a jam-packed show tonight. Up next, you're going to hear from 3 congressmen. They are leading the charge to hold the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, accountable over these scandals. Also tonight, as it relates to Senate candidate from Alabama, Roy Moore. I have an important commentary you do not want to miss, I promise. Straight ahead.
Doesn't that warrant naming a second special counsel, as 20 members of this committee wrote you 3.5 months ago asking you to do?
Well, Mr. Comey is no longer the director of the FBI.
Thank goodness.
We have an excellent man of integrity and ability in Chris Wray, and I think he's going to do an outstanding job, and I'm very happy
He's not
about
here today,
that.
Attorney General.
And I would say,
you are, and I'm asking for a special
time of the gentleman
and I would say
expired.
looks like is not enough basis to appoint a special counsel.
All right, that was Freedom Caucus member Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan today grilling the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, on why the Justice Department has not appointed a special counsel to investigate the scandals I just outlined for you surrounding Hillary Clinton. Congressman Jordan is here, along with Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz and Ron DeSantis. Thank you all for being there. All right, Jim, let me start with you.
Yeah.
A week ago Friday, my sources, multiple sources, told me, A, he did not recuse himself from Uranium One. B, I have sources telling me that there is and has been an ongoing investigation. Do you believe that to be true?
Well, we hope the second part is true, but the first part, whether he's recused himself from Uranium One issue or not, he gave contradictory answers to my colleague, Mr. Gaetz, under his questioning today. So we'll see. The key is, though,
but in fairness, is it something he would be able to tell us? It would not, correct?
Well, on one hand, he said he was not recused from that. On the other hand, he said, well, maybe I'd have to check to see if I'm supposed to be recused from that. So, again, Mr. Gaetz asked him those questions, and within that same 5 minutes, he said 2 different things.
Matt, Congressman? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Jim's absolutely right. We had a lack of clarity from the Attorney General, and just like you're frustrated, Sean, we're frustrated. We've been calling for 3.5 months for an investigation into these scandals, because if we allow them to continue, we erode the rule of law. The Attorney General at one point said that he would have the power to appoint a special counsel, and then later he said he wasn't sure, and that may be subject to a recusal. So we left today without a straight answer on whether or not there would be a special counsel, or even what the time frame would be. That's frustrating.
Let me go to the substance, Congressman DeSantis, about all of this. I won't regurgitate. It took me 20 minutes to lay this all out tonight. There's so much detail, but to me the evidence is so overwhelming. The idea that we've spent a year and there's no evidence of Trump, Russia collusion. Dianne Feinstein said it a week ago on Chris Wallace's show. And here we are, a year later. No smoke, 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 no fire, fire, fire. The evidence here is overwhelming. Fusion GPS, Uranium One, the email server scandal. Comey should be investigated. Your thoughts?
Well, you're right, Sean. I mean, let's just take Trump-Russia collusion. Not only is there not evidence of collusion, but we know that, or we think that the dossier that was used to justify some of this surveillance.
FISA warrant.
was done through the Democratic Party paying Christopher Steele, and obviously he had to pay some of these Russians to be able to get some of this information. We need to know, and Jeff Sessions would not answer, whether the FBI paid Christopher Steele for that, how much did they pay him, and whether they used it for the FISA warrant.
Don't we have a right to know? Doesn't the American taxpayer have a right to know if they paid this guy that paid Russians for salacious lies about Donald Trump to influence the election and the American people, to propagandize, lie, misinformation, distort? Don't we have a right to know? I think we do.
Absolutely.
Well, Sean, that would be the...
This is the American taxpayer. We need to know what the FBI is spending money on, and if you look at it, if, in fact, this was Democrat Party funded, you have the FBI working with one political party against another, and, oh, by the way, in collusion with Russians who are providing this information.
And, Congressman Jordan, it's the very thing they've said that Donald Trump did, and they have no evidence.
Won't be the first time the left accuse us of what they're actually doing. Look, we don't know if this happened for sure, but everything points that way, and Ron's exactly right. If one major party is working with, financing and working with the FBI to go after the other major party, taking a National Enquirer type document, turning it into an intelligence document to spy on Americans associated with President Trump's campaign, that is as wrong as it gets. And again, if that doesn't warrant investigation, if that doesn't warrant a special counsel to look into it, I do not know what does.
To me, Congressman Gates, it is this serious. Are we going to have in America today a dual justice system, or are we going to have equal justice under the law? Because if I deleted 33,000 emails that were subpoenaed by Congress, if I used BleachBit, if I destroyed devices with a hammer, how does the FBI Director Mueller at the time know Russian agents of Putin are trying to corner the uranium market? We have to import uranium. We don't have enough. 9 people sign off on this thing. Then they got the transfer of money with people involved back to the Clintons. And then they funded a phony dossier full of Russian lies to hijack an election. And now we know she already hijacked a primary. The poor Bernie Sanders. He got ripped off. It was rigged from day one.
Sean, you're absolutely right, and this is what makes the American people sick. This notion that there is one set of rules for the Clintons and another set of rules for everybody else. And you look at this investigation. When we look at this investigation, you've got the very people who may have been involved in keeping information from Congress, keeping information from the CFIUS process, but they're in the process of investigating the President of the United States. They're undermining our democracy now when they very well may be witnesses to the actual collusion with one of the participants in the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton.
This better happen. Last word, Congressman DeSantis.
Well, I think everything you laid out, Sean. Uranium One, we're working hard in the Congress. We're bringing the informant in. We're going to get his documents. We're going full bore on that. We will get the stuff for Fusion GPS. They're going to have to turn that over. And then finally, Comey and his memos and how he exonerated Hillary. We're getting all of that information, and we can't let up.
All right, guys, thank you. We're not letting up. All right, when we come back, we will continue to give you news and information and facts you can't get anywhere else, sadly, because the news media in this country is so abusively biased. We'll check in with Peter Schweitzer. He first broke the Uranium One story. Sebastian Gorka will weigh in. Tonight, I have a very serious, important announcement about Roy Moore as we continue. All right, as I said at the top of the show, the left is scared out of their minds about the possibility of further investigation or special counsel investigation into the Uranium One deal. You got hosts over at NBC, MSNBC. They're wondering where the call for a special counsel is coming from. You're going to love this. Take a look.
If Jeff Sessions is not involved in this, does that mean someone else at the DOJ right now is pushing this Obama uranium review to mollify President Trump or, I don't know, President Hannity or somebody else's political agenda? Or is Jeff Sessions involved and violating that pledged recusal?
President Hannity. I like the sound of that. It just for a second, it sounds good. No, it would be the fact that America imports uranium because we have a short supply. We don't have enough Why would we ever give it away? And remember, we were promised it would never go overseas. It went to Canada, it went to Europe, and it likely went to Asia. Joining us now, the man who got this started, author of the book, Clinton Cash, Peter Schweitzer, Fox News contributor, former deputy assistant to the president, Sebastian Gorka. Peter, you got this started. You watched this unfold today. I want to get your initial reaction. I also want to talk about, I want you to give us the money aspect to this as it relates to the Clintons, who paid who, when, and where, and how active and involved were they in this deal?
Well, look, Sean, I've always felt that the evidence is very clear, and I don't quite know what the hesitation is at the Department of Justice. There are several facts that no one debates. Fact number one, you have the Kazakh uranium minister Mukhtar Zakashev in a 2010 video deposition describing in great detail how Bill and Hillary Clinton shook him down and shook down Kazakh officials to compel them to give uranium assets to Frank Justra, who is the founder of Uranium One. Nobody disputes that. That is clear. We now have this whistleblower that's come forward who reportedly has audio recordings of Russian officials talking about using bribery to get favors from the Clintons, giving donations to the Clinton Foundation. That is yet to appear, but I think that's going to be pretty strong. The third part of this ingredient is we have the actual flow of money, tens of millions of dollars to the Clintons as this deal is going down. I would dare say, Sean, anybody in Washington, D.C. in elected office, from President Trump to Vice President Pence to members of Congress or the Senate, if that body of evidence existed, there would be an investigation today on corruption charges and bribery. I just think it's that crystal clear.
Hey, Dr. Gorka, let's go back to the simple part of Uranium One in this sense. We import uranium, the foundational material for nuclear weapons. That means we don't have enough. Why would anybody ever think it's a good idea to give Vladimir Putin 20%, especially as we have now learned through investigative reporting, Putin's agents in America were involved in bribery, extortion, racketeering, money laundering, and kickbacks. These are now facts. Mueller knew it, and Eric Holder knew it. Why would we give away uranium or rights to uranium when, in fact, we need uranium?
Why? Because the key people involved in that sale were paid off to the tune of millions. I want to make a statement here, Sean. Peter needs to be recognized for the person that put this all together. But what you just did in the 2 segments ago, those graphics, Sean, I pray to the good Lord that one day they will be used in a court of law to bring justice back to America. The New York Times, CNN, the Washington Post will not show you the truth, and you and your team put it out there so everyone can see it. I've said it before, and it made the left blow up, but I'll say it again. The Rosenbergs were executed for giving away the secrets on how to make a bomb. The Clinton crime cartel sold those things that you need to make a bomb, which is American uranium. And they gave it to a Russian government that is in league with rogue nations. But none of that should ever have been sold to anybody.
Mueller knew as the FBI director. It was an FBI informant. That means Holder had to know. They have not only his 4+ years experience as an undercover agent informant, they also have tapes, and they also have documents, and they also have emails, and they slapped an NDA on this guy. It was like putting a muzzle on him. Wait till he now discloses this. I'm imagining this is devastating. Sebastian first.
Look, you've done the amazing mapping of all the corruption, the pay-for-play, the email server, and everything else. You can do it again with simply network analysis. Look at who was in key decision-making positions for the last 8 years. Look at the connections between the directors of the FBI, Comey, Mueller. Look at the AGs, Holder, Lynch. Look at who, this is really important. Look at who Rod Rosenstein's best buddies are for the last 10 years, and the fact that he's still at the top of the Department of Justice today in a Trump administration. Just the network analysis tells you that there is something rotten in the heart of Denmark, and it is now time to clean it out.
It is so extensive because I keep talking about this dual justice system, Peter. It is the dossier propaganda bought and paid for by Hillary, the DNC, uranium. It doesn't make sense to give away our uranium, ever. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Sean. And look, the Clinton defense thus far has been pitiful. Essentially, they say, first of all, well, 9 government agencies reviewed this. It's no big deal. That has nothing to do with bribery. The fact of the matter is bribery exists whether it's a close vote or not. The second defense is Hillary Clinton saying that she was not involved in this decision. I'm sorry, but she does not have a great track record of speaking the truth. And the person that they sort of prop out, Assistant Secretary of State Fernandez, to say she was not involved in this decision 4 days before he first made that statement, Sean. He's in the Podesta email saying he wants to do whatever he can to help Hillary Clinton get elected. He's not a disinterested party. This has to be investigated.
Media's been so wrong. The day of vindication is getting closer and closer. Mark my words. Jay Sekulow, John Solomon, Sarah Carter are next. And I have an important message tonight. New developments in the Roy Moore case. You don't want to miss what I have to say. It's too important. Straight ahead. As we continue tonight on Hannity here with reaction to today's hearing with the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, Attorney for President Trump, Jay Sekulow, The Hill's John Solomon, Circa News' Sarah Carter, and of course John and Sarah have been at the forefront of this investigating reporting on all of these issues. Jay is an attorney. First, let's get your reaction.
Made the point.
Go ahead.
Jeff Sessions made the point, both in a letter that was sent by the Department of Justice to the committee, as well as in his testimony, that they are going to be looking at these issues that have been reported now extensively involving Uranium One and the Clinton Foundation. I think what's interesting here is there's a lot of discussion about whether there'll be an appointment of a special counsel, and there may be. May be determined under the Department of Justice guidelines that a special counsel is necessary to evaluate that because of the FBI, Department of Justice, role in the approval process on Uranium One. So it raises the specter of the possibility of a need for a special counsel here. But I think, look, the Department of Justice is obviously looking at it. It's serious, and I think that's good for the country. People need answers.
And, John, you reported with Sarah way back when. You went right through it. That, in fact, by the way, Sarah's mic's down, so we were trying to fix her audio. Sarah, you're on television. Don't do that. Oh, you're back?
Sorry about that. I'm back.
No,
I can hear you now.
We lost Sarah's audio. I'll ask John first, and we'll check your audio again. All right, but, John, from the very beginning, is it possible when you first reported on warrants, FISA warrants, other warrants, that maybe the phony dossier was used? Maybe, that would be bought and paid for lies used in a court to surveil an opposition candidate. Could it get that bad?
Well, the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chairman Chuck Grassley, asked this question months ago, and the FBI and the Justice Department have yet to answer the question. And I think people want to know that answer. There were 2 things that struck me about the hearing today. First, General Sessions said there were 27 criminal leak investigations.
Finally.
A 300% increase over the 9 that had been done in the 3 years before. Does 300% sound familiar, Sean? Remember back in the summer when Sarah and I were reporting the total number of searches on American records? 300%. That's what happens when Americans' records get unmasked. They get searched. The temptation to leak increases.
Listen.
Second thing.
He fumbled. Finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, he fumbled the entire factual basis of understanding why the nuclear bribery case is related to the decision on Uranium One. Someone needs to brief him on the facts. In 2009, the FBI had the criminal evidence way before the prosecution in 2014. And the question is, what did they do with that information?
And, Sarah, they had that information in 2009, a year and a half before Uranium One happened. And this is where Mueller gets caught up in it, Rosenstein gets caught up in it, and Eric Holder gets caught up in it. And how can they be investigating anything Russia at that point?
Well, that's right, Sean. And not only that, you think about this. You have the informant who is undercover. At least for 15 months, they had been investigating this. They had ample evidence at that time. And enough so that according to the informant's attorney, the informant himself, it was being briefed all the way up to the top. We believe even to President Obama himself. So I think the question is this. Why wasn't CFIUS aware of that when they made their decision? And apparently they weren't. I mean, this is the reason why we need need an investigation. We need to see how far this went, who was informed, who was not informed, and why. And I think that as we start moving closer and closer to the informant's testimony, John made a very good point. It did not seem that Attorney General Sessions was aware of all the facts of this case.
Let's talk about this informant. 4+ years, FBI informant. Documents, tapes, firsthand knowledge, emails. And he was stunned, if I'm not mistaken, Sarah. Why didn't they do anything with this?
Well, exactly. And remember, this isn't an informant that they had to strong arm. This isn't somebody that did something wrong that the FBI got to turn around. I mean, this is somebody who approached the Justice Department and said, I have information. I know what's going on. I'm a patriot. I want to deliver that information to you, and I want out. And it was the Justice Department and the FBI who asked him to stay on. Please stay on. Please continue to help us build a case.
And he did.
And he did for 4 years.
Jay, what's your reaction?
Well, let me give you.